Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hi, Levi.
Hello, Jen.
Hello.
Today, we are continuing our Palace of the Dead series with some actual Palace of the Dead. In this episode, we're going to be talking mainly about the story of Palace through floor 100. And next time, we're going to make a deep dive into the mechanics of this deep dungeon as part of our floor 200 run. Consequently, we're going to split up our chat about game mechanics. In this episode, we're going to talk about some generalities about how Palace works. And next time, we'll hit on some specific strategies for Pomander's traps and so on. So before we get into the story behind Eorzea's Palace of the Dead, let's talk about some overall mechanics.
Yeah, inquiring minds want to know.
Palace of the Dead is a deep dungeon, and the first one of its kind in Final Fantasy XIV. At this time, there are two others at level 70 and level 90. Deep dungeons are multi-level rogue-lite dungeons with a heavy emphasis on light.
Light as in they're not very hard, or?
Typically, when people talk about game genres and talk about roguelite, they mean that there is a little bit of randomization there, whereas roguelikes are more proc-gen.
Yeah. With like the chests and stuff that you get,
everything.
The Pomanders.
The randomization here is very limited and it's very constrained as in what is randomized and how. It's not a true roguelike where everything's on the table.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
Yep. So on that note, the randomization here is indeed very limited. There are a fixed set of room layouts that will be arranged randomly on a grid. That is the floor map, and the number of rooms per floor varies too. Enemies are drawn from a fixed pool per set of floors, and the locations where chests and traps can appear are also preset. The consequence of this is that if you are a Deep Dungeon pro, you'll get to know where these things appear over time, and this really helps to inform the challenge runs, especially solo runs. Knowing where traps are likely and chests are likely, same for mimics, is pretty key to doing well on those solo runs.
Yeah.
If you're dabbling in them, you do not need to care. It could be functionally random. It doesn't matter for group runs pre-100. It's all good. This is to inform, not to intimidate. It's easy just to put your toe in and get going.
Yeah, especially since you start... I mean, because you're starting at like level 1, essentially, with your character or with your job.
Yep. So the dungeon is organized into sets of 10 floors. You do a run of 10 floors at a time. At the end of each set, there is a boss, and the boss in the arena are always the same no matter what. There is no randomization to the boss itself.
So that's, thankfully.
And as a caveat before we press on, experienced players probably know a lot of the upcoming info. However, this is intended to be kind of a de-confusion and de-mystique, as I've seen some apprehension about Palace in the wild. So this is intended to kind of inform you as to what you'll expect there, what you'll encounter, and hopefully make it less confusing once you're on the ground and going through these things.
Because it's a really weird game mode. It's unlike... I mean, it's its own set of rules and skill sets.
So the intent here is just to help to share that understanding, and hopefully it's not too boring for the pros. Like Jen alluded to, Deep Dungeons use a separate leveling system. When you start a brand new Palace run, you will start at job level 1 and only have 1 or 2 abilities like you do at level 1. Killing enemies in the Palace will give you XP, and then you'll level up your job fresh in the Palace itself. XP gain here is very fast. You don't need to grind. You'll get enough as you go normally. There's no need to grind out levels inside the Palace. Just keep on going deeper, and you will level up as you need to.
Yeah. It's a great way to reacquaint yourself. Or maybe like this is a job you haven't touched in a while. So you're going to start out with like the one fucking skill you get when you first start a job.
Yeah.
And you'll rapidly get like more skills.
If you are rusty, or also if you're beginning a job that starts at a higher level, like if you get a level 70 job and you have 1 million abilities and you're like, what the fuck do these do?
Yeah.
What I do is I go to Palace, I will pull everything off my hotbar, put it on a sidebar. I will start from level 1 and I will assign my abilities to their rightful place in my kind of scheme of controls as I figure out how they work, how they feel, etc.
It's great.
So it helps you kind of drip feed those abilities for those late starting jobs.
Yeah.
The cap in Palace is level 60, meaning that over the course of a run, you will go from 1 to 60.
To unlock Palace of the Dead, what level do you have to be?
It's somewhere in the 15 to 30 range is when you can unlock Palace itself. It unlocks very early on, and you can level over your, quote, real-world character level inside Palace.
Yeah, so you could feasibly be using skills that you have not unlocked yet on the outside.
And that's okay. And if you want to assign those to a hotbar, they'll be pre-assigned for when you level up your job in the outside Palace world.
Magic.
But just note, again, on that subject, your job in Palace and job outside Palace are entirely separate. If you're level 60 bard inside Palace, you'll be a level 30 bard
whatever
outside.
The fuck, yeah.
Whatever you were when you went inside.
Yep.
Palace does give XP, but just note, when you kill stuff in Palace and get whatever XP, that is not accrued to your actual total. It's accrued to your Palace level. So you can't grind on a million enemies in there, then you'll be level 60 on the outside. You get a whack of experience for completing a floor set that is accrued to your actual job level. Kills inside Palace, stay inside Palace.
Yeah, it's like a different dimension.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
The next unique mechanic is pomanders. We are going to exhaustively talk about these next time, so we'll skip over the details for now. Just note that these are random treasures from gold-colored chests that are only usable inside Palace. Each pomander gives you a different short-term benefit, and my general advice for these is just to use them. Unless you're making a floor 200 run, just pop them and have fun. Especially in match parties, people never use these for some reason. So if you find one, if it looks fun, just do it. No one's going to care. People are not going to nag you for having, quote, wasted resources, which will vanish anyway after the 10 floor set's over. I do not let consumable fears get in the way of you messing with these mechanics, experimenting with them. It's okay to waste a pom. Chances are no one else would have used it anyway. Yeah,
you're going to get like your own unique Palace of the Dead HUD. And all of the little pomanders, your little buffs, they'll show up in a grid and you'll know what to use. And it'll give you a little blurb of what it is. Like a little strength buff, a little immunity buff, whatever the fuck.
You do not need these unless you're doing a floor 200 run. So don't agonize over wasting them on earlier floors.
Definitely use them on earlier floors and you know how to fucking use them later on.
Yep, that too. Then there are traps. These are invisible points on the ground that if you step on them, they will trigger various bad effects. We will likewise talk about these in detail next time, but just know that traps can be revealed or removed by certain pomanders. But in general, for low-level runs, I'd say, again, don't sweat it. If you step on a trap, blow yourself up, blow your party up, it's fine. It is hard to wipe on the lower floors especially. So if you are a frog for 30 seconds or whatever, it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't sweat it.
Yep. It's part of the charm.
Yep. It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
But that said, if you want to avoid traps, they typically appear in the central part of rooms, not around the perimeter, and they never appear in the passages between rooms. So that's where you know you're safe.
Yeah.
Next, you got mimics. Random chests can be mimics.
Classic. Fight them.
Fight them.
Yeah.
In general, you cannot tell the difference. There's no secret tell on these things visually. You got to click it. If it's a mimic, it'll activate and start biting you.
Mm-hmm.
The type of chest that mimics imitate vary per floor. On the lower floors, they look like bronze chests. Later on, they look like silvers. And on the toughest floors, they look like gold chests. Other types of chests will be mimic-free. So if you're on floor 1 through 50 or whatever, you can open silvers and gold without fear. They will never be mimics. It'll only be bronze that will be mimicked. Pro tip. But again, it's fine. If you pop a mimic, if they fight you, good to go. On lower floors, they're easy. On upper floors, they get tougher. But, worst case scenario, it bites you. You might get chest herpes. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Speaking of, mimics can give you a long-term debuff that prevents healing and deals damage over time. This is called the pox. This attack is interruptible, so if you're a ranged DPS or if you're a tank, you can interrupt this attack. Lower level mimics can be stunned, but upper level mimics cannot be stunned. In general, you want to interrupt these if you can. Note, you cannot use Asuna to cure the pox. You must let it run down its duration or use a Pomander of curing to take care of that.
Yep.
But also like a regen from a healer can offset the damage. It's fine. Then we got the floor effects. These will also be a next episode discussion in detail. But just so you know, there are random debuffs that can hit you for an entire floor. You can check the map and they'll tell you what's in effect on the current floor and explain the effects. So just mouse over those icons. They'll tell you what it does and just be aware. In general, it is a little bit inconvenient, but not too big a deal on lower floors.
Yeah, it's just part of it, like the variety of shit.
Yep.
You know.
And finally, there is the ether pool. In deep dungeons, your character's gear doesn't matter. You can be wearing level 1 fashion items, it's irrelevant. What does matter is your ether pool. So in deep dungeons, your weapons and armor are replaced by these ether weapons. They are implements of pure ether. Aesthetically, your character will look like they're wielding pure light, but your armor looks the same as when you went into the dungeon. But mechanically, when you first start out in Palace, your weapon and armor will be ether pool level 1. You have to level these up yourself, which is done by opening silver chests or defeating certain bosses. Silver chests will either level up your weapon or your armor by 1, or the chest might explode. Well,
yeah.
The maximum ether pool level is 99, and you will want to have a very high ether pool if you are diving deep into the place. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And also note, after a certain point, lower level floors will stop giving you upgrades from chests. So if you are, say, a level 50 ether pool and you pop a level 1 dungeon chest, it will not accrue. You've got to go deeper to challenge yourself to level up your pool higher.
Yeah.
Good. And if you like the look of your ether pool weapon, there is an NPC in Quarry Mill that will convert some of your ether pool into an item that you can use to create like a glamour weapon, essentially, to apply to your weapons to rock those blades of light outside.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm learning stuff.
Nice. Happy to hear that, Jen. So those are the mechanics that you'll encounter. And here is how Palace is organized. When you first unlock Palace of the Dead, you'll get access to the Palace Interface NPC. This is the Wood Whaler Expeditionary Captain, who hangs out in Quarry Mill in South Shroud. There are also a couple nearby support NPCs that help you to cash in your rewards from Palace. You must begin Palace runs through this NPC. You cannot queue in through Duty Finder. And when you first start a Palace run, you will see some stuff. First, it'll prompt you about a save file. This is kind of a janky system. You get 2 save files per deep dungeon. You have to pick which save slot you want to start your run on. If you're brand new or if you've deleted both saves, they'll be empty. You can start your brand new save slot right there. You can also resume a prior run by selecting that save slot. So if you want to do 30 floors and take a break, you can come back later on and start on floor 31, exact same place. It's saved in that save file.
Convenient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of. If both are full and you want to begin a new run, you must delete one of the save files. This is all done through the Palace NPC, all on that same interface.
Yeah.
So here is what is saved in a save file. First, it'll save the floor number that you've progressed to. Because you advance in sets of 10 floors, it'll say you've gone through floor 10, 20, 50, whatever. And then when you click that file, you start on the next floor, 51, for instance. Palace goes all the way to floor 200, but floors 101 and beyond are so-called challenge floors, and we'll hit those next time. If you want the story, you can clear through floor 100 only, and you're good to go. Nothing else to offer besides challenge and loot beyond floor 100. The save file will also save whether your run is a fixed or matched party. With a matched party, you'll be paired with 3 random players that have queued up for the same floor set. You must always play the same job in a matched save file, but the party composition will vary. In my experience, you can usually get a match party for the very low floors and also on floors 51 to 60. Beyond that, the queue times are pretty obnoxious, and it's probably better to use Party Finder or to use other social sites to organize a run versus trying to queue for a full progression through Palace.
Yeah.
Fixed parties are just that. They are a fixed group of players that are progressing through Palace together. Once you start a fixed party save file, you must progress that save with the exact same players on the exact same jobs every time you resume the save. Each party member maintains a separate save though, so all 4 of you must have the same save on hand. If one of you deletes that, you're all screwed. It's kind of obnoxious, but yeah, just stems the brakes.
Yep.
And as a side tip, if you're trying to start a fixed party run and you keep getting queue errors, it's probably one of 2 issues. Either someone has both their save slots full and they have to go in and delete that save to make room for a new save for your group, or someone's not in South Shroud. Everyone must be in South Shroud to start a Palace run.
Oh, yeah. I can see how that would fuck somebody up trying to...
Normally it don't matter, but here it does matter.
Yeah.
You must all be in South Shroud, otherwise it'll give you an error.
Interesting.
So make sure you got an open save collectively, and also make sure that you're in the right zone. Save files they'll track your character level in Palace. So they track how much XP you've accrued. And for fixed parties only, it'll track your inventory of Palmanders. You can carry your Palmanders between floor sets in a fixed party, which is very important for floor 200 runs. You need to make sure you manage those things on the deeper floors. However, note, matched parties, this is queuing up with randos, they do not save Palmanders. Use those things or lose them. There's no point to conserve palms in matched party runs.
Cool. Weird.
Finally, saves will track your score. You get points. These are purely bragging rights. They don't count for shit. They have no mechanical value. You get points for various actions about like looting stuff and killing stuff. I don't care personally, not my priority whatsoever going into these things.
Yeah, like why? Well, it's a
Some
video
people-
game. It's got to be points.
Some people like it. Important note, your ether pool is not tracked on your save file. That is the same across every run. Your ether pool will always be tracked to your character, not to your Palace save, so delete those saves, refresh them, whatever, with impunity. It will not affect your ether pool.
Oh, weird. I mean, great, but weird.
Great.
Yeah. One less thing to worry about.
Once you're inside Palace, you're doing it. Enemies inside the Palace are going to be aggressive. Just start whacking enemies and leveling up. It's great. Open chests if you find them. Kill stuff, you're good to go. That's the overall policy on the earlier Palace floors. After the party kills a certain number of enemies, you can move on to the next floor. The amount of enemies to kill is random, but I think it's between 6 and 12 enemies being killed will trigger the unlock for the floor advancement.
Yeah, you can just keep looking at your map to see when that moment occurs.
Yes, because above the map there's a little icon that looks like a key. This will keep on intensifying its glow until when the passage is unlocked, the key will have a white-blue aura around it. That's when you know you can move on.
Yeah.
Once you hit your kill quota for the floor, the exit will unlock. This is an orb on a pedestal that will gain a glowing aura once you can progress. When that happens, all players in the party must stand on that orb. After a few seconds, it'll teleport you down to the next floor. If anyone is in combat, you cannot leave the floor.
Yeah. So sometimes the floor will unlock and we're like, great, we can bail. And people will run back to do the teleport, and then one person will maybe catch aggro or something, and oh fuck, now we have to fight this whole room. So everybody's got to leave the orb, go back, help fight. Now we can leave.
Yep.
You know, it's just...
Also, the radius of the exit orb is smaller than you think. I've seen many times people will stand just inside the little glow and dick around and nothing happens. Get on that orb. Buddy up. Just
move.
Hump that orb and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is another device that will charge up as you kill enemies. This is the revival orb. Its kill quota is independent of the exit quota and can be more or less than the exit quota depending on RNG. Sometimes you'll unlock the revival orb first. Sometimes you will unlock the passage first. TBD. Once the revival orb is charged, you can interact with it to revive any dead characters in the party. It only works once per floor though.
Huh, I had no idea.
This is good if you are healerless or if your healer is dead. You can get them back. You can see both of these things, the exit and also the revival orb, on the map once any player has found them. I personally like splitting up on the early floors because things die so fast anyway. Mm-hmm. There's very little threat. You can find the exit faster and move on. Mm-hmm. I hate when people all try and group up on like floor 20.
You'll have nothing to do if you do that.
Yeah, things die and like if you're a caster, get fucked. You will not cast a spell before it dies to the ranged DPS's hits or whatever.
Yep, you're just going to be running around getting no XP.
Well,
wait, if is it...
It's shared for everyone.
Okay, great. All right. At least
it's just annoying. Like, great, I'm here to
boring.
Do stuff, not watch things die.
Correct.
Anyway, after you progress through 9 floors of regular enemies, you reach the boss floor. This is just like any other boss fight. No special mechanics here, really. You just fight the boss, do the thing for the boss, and when defeated, the floor set is cleared and you can leave. So, Jen, that was a lot of stuff.
No, that's very informative.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
My overall recommendation is just to do it. Some stuff may not click yet or may not make sense out of context. Just get in there and do it. Floor 1 queues pop pretty fast, even if you don't have a fixed party. It's very hard to actually, quote, harm the party if you're inexperienced. Like, the worst thing you can do is to get yourself killed and they'll erase you at some point and you're fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
My only advice to not cause friction with a new party is that most players like to leave a floor when the exit is unlocked. If you see that pop up, just go for the exit and to stand on it. Don't kill more shit on that floor. That is the only thing I'd recommend, just to mesh with other players.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Like, we unlocked the next floor, but I want to kill everything on this floor. Like, just stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's pretty chill. So here's what you get out of all that, Jen. First off, you get some fun. The main downside of Palace to me is that it's so long and it takes forever to get to floor 200. And like up to like floor 150, it's not that difficult. So it's like, why am I bothering? You know, what's the point of just mashing buttons until I actually get to the challenge floors?
Grindy, yeah.
But later deep dungeons correct this by making floor 31 plus be the quote challenge floors and have only 100 floors total. So it ramps up much faster. It is much shorter overall. Mm-hmm. There's nothing really gained by having an extra 100 floors of easy shit.
It's just the grind tradition of MMOs.
But as far as rewards go, though, Jen, first off, there are potsherds. These are a currency that appears rarely from bronze chests, though they do drop more often on later floors. Certain bosses also will drop everyone a potsherd.
Yeah.
You can trade these in Quarry Mill for a variety of cosmetic awards. There's also the Accursed Hoard. This is the big time.
Oh, yeah. This gives you like the little gift bags or whatever?
This is the loot box mechanic, yes.
Ah, yes.
So the Accursed Hoard is a type of loot found inside Palace of the Dead. These will appear on random floors and no more than one per floor ever. The hoard is at a random point on the floor, which you can trigger by standing still there for a few seconds. If you do so, a chest appears. Click it and you gain the hoard. This is for the whole party. Everyone benefits from anyone finding the hoard. There is no selfishness here.
Yeah.
It helps everyone. By default, the hoard location is invisible, so you'll only find it by pure luck. It will be inside rooms, though, never in the connecting corridors. But the Pomander of Intuition will reveal the locations of the hoard until you next loot a piece, then it expires. While Intuition is active, if there is a piece of the hoard on the current floor you're on, you'll get a text message saying so, and there'll be a little Intuition icon appearing on the map that tells you, hey, there's a hoard here. You've got to go find it, though. It will not appear on the actual floor map. You must get eyes on it directly. Mm-hmm. It looks like a glowing beam of light, like a vertical pillar of light. Stand on the pillar, you get the hoard, loot it, move on.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
In order to claim the hoard, though, you must beat the boss of your current floor set. If you wipe and you lose, you will not keep your current hoard you've accumulated. If you defeat the boss, though, then go back to Quarry Mill and talk to the palace NPCs, and there's one that will cash in those hoard chunks for like a loot box roll, and you will get a random piece of loot from your hoard. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's trash, Sometimes it's like a mount that sells for millions of gil.
Yeah. That's always fun. What did I get this time?
Well, Jin's got the loot box bug.
Yeah.
The quality of Horde improves as you go up in floor levels. Every set of 50 floors has a different type of Horde that drops. In order of least valuable to most, it goes from bronze, iron, silver, then gold. The latter, gold, only appears on floors 151 through 200.
That's where you're likely to get, mounts.
Yeah. So, that is all of the mechanical preamble, Jin.
Nice. Well done.
So, let's talk about some story now. Palace of the Dead is technically a crossover dungeon.
Okay.
Originating from Tactics Ogre, Let Us Clean Together.
So, Tactics Ogre, weird name. That's a game.
Yes.
Tactics Ogre, the thing you just said.
Let Us Clean Together.
Different game.
Oh, I'm not the expert on the Ogre Battle series, but it's one big fat name.
I see. Okay.
It's a game in the series called Ogre Battle.
Ogre Battle.
Yes. Tactics Ogre is a turn-based tactics game that has been re-released multiple times over the years. I think it was originally made for the Super Famicom system.
Wow.
There is a semi-recent PC port of the game that is pretty good, if you're willing to put up with a certain degree of mechanical cruft that comes with playing older tactics games. This game takes place in a war-torn fantasy kingdom, featuring struggles between a variety of different political powers and personal interests. In Tactics Ogre, Palace of the Dead is a optional mega dungeon that unlocks towards the end of the game. It is an ancient subterranean necropolis filled with demons, undead, and powerful artifacts. That Palace of the Dead has 100 levels in it, which was later expanded to, I think, 115 in one of the re-releases.
Yeah, not impressed.
Wow.
Get on our level.
In Tactics Ogre, you don't have to clear every single level in Palace of the Dead. It's more like a maze of branching paths as you navigate your way downwards. You can skip levels and whole sections of the dungeon depending on how you choose to traverse it. Also, it's not randomized. The layout of each level is fixed every time you visit, though the enemies you fight on each stage and their drops can be random. The story of the Tactics Ogre Palace of the Dead is largely about a present-day necromancer that is obsessed with the secrets of eternal life. The necromancer's name is Nibeth. He is willing to do pretty much anything to achieve his goal, even sacrificing his own family. You will pursue Nibeth deeper into the palace, encountering him periodically as you fight through the palace's denizens. Nibeth eventually turns himself into a lich, not as the solution to his quest, but as a way of preserving his existence while he tries to find a way to achieve true eternal life.
Okay.
So that is the game it got crossed over from. Palace of the Dead in Eorzea is a weird crossover fixture because it doesn't push the crossover angle at all. And while there are references to Tactics Ogre in it, you would never know unless you look them up. So I feel like the point of crossovers is to promote interest in the content that is being crossed over.
I sometimes, in this case, no, because they're not like, did you like what you saw there? Then we recommend going to play Tactics Ogre.
Correct. It's not like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of befuddles me as to why they chose to cross this over at all. It didn't need to be, I guess, crossed over. It's more like they saw Palace in that game and they're like, hey, this is a cool mega dungeon. Let's make our own and call it the same thing. And include story references that don't make sense fully in our world.
They do that all the time. It's one big self-referential soup.
Oh, that is Final Fantasy, yes.
Yeah.
.txt. But this is a different game of a different series that they are now crossing over on the slide to our world.
Fuck it, whatever. It's a really cool like game mode, especially when you have these jobs that start at like level 30, level 50, level 60, level 70. You go in with these jobs that start at like a million levels, and you have like a whole hotbars full of skills. You're like, I don't know how these work together. So Palace of the Dead existing, you can start from scratch, one skill at a little time, drops into your little bucket, and you can figure out how they work together, and that's great. And also, it's just something fun to do.
I agree with those things, Jen, but I don't understand why it had to be Palace of the Dead per se, not something else.
Because it's already done.
Anyway, that is the source material for Palace of the Dead. Now let's actually get to Eorzea's Palace of the Dead. We find out about this in Gridania's Carline Canopy, where we find a Lalafell named Nohiro Maruhiro. He's just chilling on some crates in the canopy, and he recognizes us as that famous adventurer.
Nice.
He wonders if we've heard about that nasty business near Isamhar, which is in South Shroud, near an opening in the ground that leads into the ruins of Gelmora. We say we haven't, we don't know what he's talking about, and this Lalafell tells us that there are stories of some strange portal appearing in the ruins. This, he says, is all hearsay from the whalers, but on the far side of the portal is a labyrinth. Every time they go in there to map out the place, it's always different. There are strange apparitions and trapped corridors there. It sounds nasty to him, though, he says, there is treasure. Don't take it from him, though. We should check it out ourselves. So we thank the stranger Lalafell, and we do just that. We head over to the Gelmoran researchers campsite in South Shroud. There are a couple idle researchers here hanging out that are complaining that the wood whalers have kicked them out of their excavation. When we talk to the wood whaler, though, he welcomes us. Any capable adventurer is welcome to try their luck through this mysterious portal. If we're interested, we should go speak to the expeditionary captain in Quarry Mill. We do so, and he recaps what we already know. Mysterious portal, changing labyrinth, etc., etc. He tells us that this place seems to be permeated with a strange magic that fills you with dread. And the Pajal that's been included in this investigation, E. Una Kotor, says that this place saps the ether of all who enter, rendering them easy prey for its denizens. However, E. Una has a solution. They have devised ether pool armaments that can withstand the ruins' magics. This doesn't help, though, with its maze-like properties, and they suspect that this may be the work of an unfathomably powerful mage. But experienced adventurers are welcome to try their luck in the Palace of the Dead and see what they can find.
Interesting.
So we have now unlocked the dungeon. We talk to the expeditionary captain in Quarry Mill, and we say that we want to head in. So for our run here, Jen and I duoed in a fixed party.
You can do a party of 4, or up to 4, I guess. So we just did 2. We did a DPS and a healer because you're probably gonna die. I mean, they do have, like, raising stuff.
It wasn't for the res, it was because you don't have any sustaining potions. So without that, you wouldn't be able to tanky the bosses.
Right, unless you're... Yeah, it's hard, because especially in the beginning when you don't have anything, your ether pool, there's nothing. So your weapon does no damage, and you have no defense, basically. So that's kind of the point. You run through it multiple times, and you're building on your damage and your defense every time by unlocking ether pool like improvements or whatever. We did not have great luck in the beginning with this stuff, so it was a little touch and go.
What we did is we ran 2 save files at the same time. So we would kind of leapfrog back and forth between the 2 save files so we could manage our ether pool level. We do essentially the same floors twice over and work on getting our pool up to more manageable levels.
Which eventually happened. It's fine. Yeah. Levi was not happy. Apparently we got very bad RNG in the first 30 floors or so.
We had terrible fucking RNG. It took us forever to get our pool up. We're still not where we want to be as of this recording. And also we had awful luck finding arm upgrades. So it got to the point where our armor was 12 points above our arm, which meant that things took for fucking ever to kill just because our offense was so underleveled. Sure, we can take them for longer, but also we wouldn't have to take as many hits if we could kill them faster. So it was very frustrating just to have such poor luck getting our ether pool up.
Yeah, we couldn't divide and conquer because we were so weak. But, that's the way it goes until you build that shit up. That's the point, You win some, you lose some.
So for these runs, I ran Scholar and Jen played Ninja.
Yeah.
The first time you enter Palace, you get a cutscene where you're at the base of the Gelmoran ruins in South Shroud. It shows our characters in this dig site running through the ruins entry as these researchers watch us from above. And we run over to a passage orb at the bottom of that pit and we get teleported into the deep dungeon. So we use one of those passage teleport orbs to actually enter the thing in the first place. We're now on floor 1. This first floor set looks like your standard dungeon full of crumbling stonework and chipped flagstones. The enemies here are mostly animals, rats, bees, and so on. The only real danger here are the bees. They cast Final Sting.
We died to that.
Oh, you did.
I died to that.
The bees, like other bees in this game, they will cast Final Sting, which is a one-shot kill if you don't kill them in a certain time. If your ether pool is low and you're fighting the bees solo, you may fall short of the DPS requirement to not get stung. So twice during our runs, once in each save file, I had just leveled up enough to get my res unlocked, and just then is when Jin dies suddenly to a bee sting.
Yeah, that happened twice where I died immediately after you got your res.
Midway through this floor set, we get a cutscene. There are scenes like this peppered all the way through floors 1 through 50. It's pretty funny how most of these scenes are one gradual reveal of a person. We see some shoes. We see some legs. We see a skirt.
Basically,
so they really take their time in showing us a person.
The first 50 floors, there's just exactly this. In 15 floors, you get shoes. In 10 more floors, you get, like Levi said, it's just it's in service to the greater reveal after 50.
We get the ID before 50, but oh, do you mean the nemesis, the true villain?
The true, right? Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're just gonna talk about it all now. It's kind of ridiculous how much build up they have here. So we'll just talk about all the story drips all at once. So at first, you see some shoes. They're platform shoes. They're floating.
Yep.
Someone's like, a visitor. End of scene.
Yep. Cool.
But anyway, it'll go on to show more and more of this person who is Edda. It's Edda's back. She's got a makeover, though.
She's goth Edda.
She went to Hot Topic.
Straight up, yes.
It's actually kind of a cute outfit. She's got a black dress on with ruffles and a pointed hat that's ringed with white roses.
They're gray roses.
My bad. I'm sorry, Jen. They're gray roses.
Correct. I mean, that's a bit of a vibe.
Frankly,
fuck up if they were white.
Given the lighting in here, I couldn't tell if they were gray or just
it could be a grayish purple.
Sure. It's ringed with grayish purple roses.
Yeah, like dusty lavender.
Great. Now that we've established the color of the roses on her hat, she also has an eye patch.
So that's new. We don't know how she lost her eye.
It might also just be for vibe too, honestly.
Also true.
The Black Mage outfit, for instance, has an eye patch too.
And she's looking a lot more black magey than white magey these days. So maybe that's why.
One eye sees reality, one eye sees beyond the veil.
Maybe he plucked it out of her skull for that reason. I don't know.
Also, she is buddied up with her Voidsent fiancé still, but he's gotten smaller. Maybe he's her husband now. I don't know. Anyway, Avir is on her shoulder still. He looks like a little flying helmet guy.
Yeah, just a little flying helmet with eyeballs. I don't think they did officially get married, right? I think that whole thing was interrupted by
Probably
us.
true, yeah. So they're still unwed.
Bummer.
Bummer. Her and her shoulder imp can't be married.
So it's, I mean, I don't know what his deal is, if he's like a separate entity and he's just following her corpse around. But she followed his corpse around, so I guess, they each got a turn.
Well, we don't yet know that she's dead, but may as well. We'll find out soon enough. So yeah, Edda is actually not alive right now per se. She did die, presumably in that fall from Tamtara back last episode.
Yeah, we're not sure how she's existing right now, but we'll figure it out soon.
Yep. So anyway, that's what happens is we see more and more of Edda over the course of 40 or so floors.
Yep.
We see how she looks, and that's it. She's just watching us as we make our way through this section of Palace.
Yeah, and then at floor 40, after the boss fight, we're standing in an empty arena and we go to leave. As soon as we leave, when we blip out, she is like 8 feet behind us. So her presence is becoming oppressive, and that was kind of like a little, not a jump scare moment, but like a little unsettling. Yeah.
Blip, blip. Anyway, we get that first little hint, though, of Edda as we make our way through the first set. On level 10, we get our first boss, the Palace Death Gaze. This uses the model of that huge flying beastie with the large curving horns. This boss and most bosses like it on the way to floor 100 are pretty easy if you have a full party and or your ether pool is high. However, these mechanics do matter a lot if you're working on your ether pool or if you are solo. And also on floors 100 plus, they repeat the early floor bosses again, just harder. So we'll talk about them now because it'll also inform our run next time.
Yeah.
That said, the Death Gaze is a very basic boss, which just has a handful of easily dodgeable attacks. The only thing to note is that it can give you a Tank Buster plus auto attack wombo combo that will drop your health down substantially. Otherwise, dodge the shit, kill it, move on like you do. We are on now to level 11. We're now in the very common Palace Cave biome, which gets reskinned a few times. This one is a dark gray cave with aqua accents. Glowing aqua fungus, aqua glowing rocks / ether crystals poking out of the walls. That's it.
Yeah, we're not quite in like a built environment. It looks very like cavernous still, right?
We left the built environment. The first floor set is a dungeon, but now we're in a cavern, and it will be for some time. Yeah,
it's weird. It feels like it's hard for me to remember that we're descending and not ascending. Like we're going from the dungeon to the basement to the actual palace, and then it just like develops from there, and then kind of develops.
Where we are is kind of debatable. Ultimately, we're in a magic maze that is made by Nybeth, our ultimate villain necromancer. Also, the question is, where is this happening? We entered this portal in Gilmora. Are we still in Gilmora? It doesn't feel like it, honestly. It doesn't feel like this is a place where people lived at all. It's just like some random ass mishmash of dungeon stuff.
Yeah. This is like somebody's big fat lair.
Pretty much.
It is like it's more like a crypt, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's debatable as to if this is taking place in actual physical space or we're in sort of like kind of ether constructed maze that is reforming itself as we progress.
Yeah, I think it's more that and not unless it's just like a stylized version of what, Gilmora used to be. But it never looks like a place that people lived.
No. Never.
So, who knows?
But anyway, for now, though...
it's their mausoleum.
That was what Tamtara
was.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So.
But we are in the Aqua Caves now. There are a couple fun enemies in the set. The first off are the slimes. These are dangerous. If you are fighting alone and your ether pool is low, the slimes have an enrage ability where if you don't kill them fast enough, they will explode and one-shot you. This got me by surprise. When Jin and I had split up to go look for shit separately, and with my low healer DPS plus low ether pool, I was whacking a slime and it just killed me out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Had to use the raise?
Yep.
Return?
Yeah, the return Cairn.
Return Cairn.
This floor set also has snakes. These are no big deal unless you hit a toad trap. These snakes can use Devour on toads, which will insta-kill any toaded character. So if you become a toad, watch out for them snakes.
Interesting.
We clear this floor set and reach the floor 20 boss, Sporge.
Sporge.
This is a huge thorny Ochu with a purple color scheme. Things to watch for here are, it's got a high damage cleaving attack, so don't stack up, and it will summon bee ads. These bees, of course, cast Final Sting, so burn them bees before they one-shot you. That's it.
Yep.
We beat the boss. We're on now to floor 21. We're now in more rocky caves, but with a red theme, Ruby Caves. There are a couple tough enemies here. The Minotaur enemies cast Swing. This is a point-blank AoE without a ground marker. If you see them casting Swing, back away. Though that said, on this floor you can tank a swing and survive. It will not one-shot you like it will in later content. We also have the Skatines, the owl people. These guys are pretty tough, and the later versions get tougher. They will cast Chirp, which will put everyone in a large radius to sleep. And if you're alone, it's not too bad because they'll auto-attack you and wake you up immediately. If you're in a group, though, everyone but their aggro target will be asleep, and it lasts for like 30 seconds. So you'll all be locked out of action for a long time while one person gets woken up and gets attacked.
Pretty gnarly for this early on, in my opinion.
Well, honestly, the earlier enemies are tougher than the middle enemies. It's kind of down that way.
Yeah, I'm like, it got easier the deeper we got.
It's hard, it's easy, then it gets really hard. It's like a weird valley of difficulty. Anyway, we press on past those guys, and we reach the floor 30 boss. This is the Hydra Ningshida. This is pretty much the same fight as the Relic Weapon Hydra.
I don't remember this guy. What did he look like?
A Hydra. It's got many heads.
Oh yeah, I think because I was the DPS, that also meant I was kind of like the tank. So I was really looking at all my buttons and not so much at what the guy was doing.
Well, tanking is about looking at the boss gen.
Yeah.
And reacting and proacting against them.
Yeah. We're all learning here.
This fight is either a really rough time or a very easy time if you know how to handle the mechanics. The only thing you got to do is to manage the fear mechanic. So you need to fight this guy around the arena edge. You never ever want to stand in the middle no matter who you are, tank or otherwise. He will spit persistent ground AoEs at you, fire and ice blasts that leave a ground marker behind, and they will last for a long time. If you bait these attacks around the edge, fine, whatever. If you bait them towards the center, you're screwed. Because after several blasts, I think it's like 6 or so, the Hydra will go back to the middle of the room and will cast Fear itself. Unless you're standing inside the boss, Fear itself will fire, you'll get hit by it, and you will run around randomly. And most likely into those ground effects, getting you killed. If someone baited a ground effect into the middle, you either must get hit by Fear or you must stand in the ground effect to avoid the Fear mechanic. Both bad propositions. Don't be in the middle unless you're doing the actual Fear itself mechanic. Yeah,
I think I died. I couldn't get back in time, something like that, but I got feared and ran around and got by AoEs.
Remember, Jen, the only thing to fear is Fear itself.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, exactly. So we defeat the Hydra and we move on. And we're now in a spooky, ominous dungeon biome. There are a lot of Void Sent enemies here, but none have any especially rough mechanics. We clear them out and we reach the floor 40 boss. This is Ixtab, a floating specter with a hooded robe. And this guy has one mechanic to watch for, which killed Jin. First off, he will drop some ground AoEs that leave dark damage puddles. Dodge them. Easy. Then he will summon a pair of ghosts. You have to kill the ghosts ASAP and not tunnel the vision the boss gen. Otherwise, if the ghosts are still alive after a set period of time, the boss will do a raid-wide AoE called Scream. You cannot avoid this. It will paralyze you with fright. If the ghosts are dead, you're fine. If the ghost ads are still alive, they will drop a high damage and probably one-shot AoE on you, which you can't avoid because you're frozen with fear. So that's it. Kill the ads before the scream goes out. Good to go. Otherwise, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
We're now on to the end of the first stretch, Jen. Floor 41. This is more spooky dungeon biome. There are a couple voids in here that cause issues. The ghosts, called Boots, and the cool phantom guys that are covered in glowing masks. They can both paralyze you, which is generally fine if you're single pulling, but if you're trying to do group pulls, it can cause you some issues, as they will catch up to you and wail on you while you're paralyzed. There are also rhinoceros guys called Wyvras.
Oh, those guys hit hard.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They have a very heavy-hitting tank buster style mechanic, which will take out a big chunk of your health.
Yep.
But we defeat them and get to floor 50. Finally, now the story continues, after we've been shown 10% of Edda at a time for the whole floor set.
Yeah. Now it's our second Edda fight.
Yeah. Ol' Edda Blackbosom.
Did we know that was her last name?
I feel like that is a moniker added afterwards, because if that was her OG last name, then LOL.
Yeah, I feel like we did know, but I couldn't tell you. Anyway, but yes, we get her full name. This is where we find out that we are not welcome, and she's planning a violent eviction of us. And so, like before, the arena is encircled in candles, and the floor is inscribed with runes.
Hey, Jen, Edda also has a scythe now.
Oh yeah, she's got a Reaper.
She's a
weapon.
Reaper.
Yeah,
Black Mage Reaper.
I mean, who knows what kind of bullshit Nybeth has got her doing. I mean, she's obedient. She can't think for herself, I guess. I don't know. We're figuring that out.
Anyway, sorry, go on. There are candles and there are runes on the floor.
Yeah. So we fight her, and I'm sure you have details on that fight.
I do. Thank you, Jen.
There we go.
The main mechanic here is called In Health. This will either be a large point-blank AoE or a donut AoE with a safe space in the center. To avoid this, you need to be at a medium range from Edda and be prepared to run in either direction. If you're too far out, you will not get to her donut safe spot in time if she casts the donut version of In Health.
Mm-hmm.
Besides hurting you, this will make one of the runes on the ground power up, just like in Tamtara, and it will make her upcoming attack more powerful. The attack that triggers off the runes is called Black Honeymoon, and it will do more damage based on how many times you've been hit by In Health. Don't get hit, dodge the shit, good to go. She's not that hard.
No, she's not. It's more like for the flavor.
For the flavors. When Edda is defeated, she stumbles back and becomes awash in ether. She flashes and reappears, illuminated in white, now wearing her white mage outfit.
Yeah, so she looks normal now. We have finally freed her from this mortal coil. She sees us, she recognizes us, and she says, I have started anew as an adventurer, just as I promised. And she says, I wish Avir were here to see me. It's getting to be her time to go, but she doesn't remember how she got here. She just remembers falling and a robed figure, and then she fades away.
It feels like she lost all her memory from after she met with us at, I think, the Carline Canopy.
No, I think it was at the quicksand.
I think so as well, yeah. So anyway, it feels like everything that happened to her since she met with us and we're like, get back at it, sport.
Yeah.
Pick up yourself up and get back in there.
She's like, I want to be an adventurer like you, and Avir looks up to you so much, and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, yeah, like, go get it, girl. And so she did do that until...
Oh, this was post Avir's death.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Avir's been dead a bit. He's not freshly dead.
Yeah.
But she's still traveling with his head at this point.
Yes, I don't think we know that, though. Because when we meet her, it seems like we're giving her kind of like a inspirational talk, right? Or like, hey, get back out there. I'm sorry that happened to you,
you've suffered some setbacks, but you've broken up with your toxic group. That's a huge step, and we're rooting for you.
Yeah, that is where she picks up now. Like everything between then, when she went crazy, she carried her boyfriend's head around
and
for
it
years.
Got into her soul.
Yeah, so all that has been excised from her memory. I'm not clear on, like, maybe Nybeth was involved in her life from then. Like, he he saw her and is like, this is like a good disciple or something. I don't know. Or what? Because obviously something happened during that pursuit where she learned this like void sense summoning magic. It could have been that darkness itself has been excised from her along with everything else, like we knocked the Ninebeth out of her. So now she's got the, like everything else that was kind of dark has also been kicked out or something. But like, it's obvious though, that she has like this time gap for a huge part of her life and unlife that's now gone.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah. Anyway, though, Edda, now finally free at last from the darkness within her, she dissipates into ether. She's gone. And we see on the ground now, there's a ring set with a red stone. We pick it up and we get a custom clear message. Edda defeated.
Edda slain.
Edda slain.
Yeah.
Edda dead.
Edda slain.
Dedda. Back outside the palace, a couple blue quests have appeared.
Right. Well, they're like one of them is just whatever, but the other one is actual story progression.
The whatever quest that Jin's talking about is given by the expeditionary captain. It's just a little bit of dialogue that unlocks floor 51 plus of the dungeon.
Yeah.
He just says, you got to go deeper, go look for
There's
this
still stuff.
Mysterious robed figure that Edda mentioned.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah. So.
The other one, the one with meat, is given by a nearby wood whaler.
So this is Balan. He's stationed here at Quarry Mill, like so many. And he says that we've been getting a lot of attention due to our bold exploration of the palace. And Alalafel has been frequenting Buscaron's druthers recently, deep in his cups, muttering about dead friends, vengeful spirits, and us. And he's become a bit of a nuisance, so Balan asks that we go speak to him, since he's talked about us, apparently. So, this is Peoreo. Poor guy. We find him, he's not sober, but he is very glad to see us.
Peoreo is the Lalafell in Edda's party.
What was his job there? He was a mage, right? He was a black mage, I think? Thaumaturge.
Jin is only one black mage right now. That's you, Jin.
Yeah, that's hard to remember because I'm like, everybody, there are so many black mages. Right. I see them all over the place.
Yes. You're all the only black mage.
Correct. So he's like, yeah, I did promise to, after the whole like Deepcroft wedding nightmare, and I said, I'm going to go home and live a life of non-adventuring. I can't stop thinking about Edda. And we tell him that we've seen her.
More so, he says that he has nightmares about her.
Oh, yeah. He can't stop thinking about Edda. And we tell him that, well, we've seen her recently. And we hand over her engagement ring as proof. And he's like, whoa. Meet me outside by the bridge. So we go meet him outside by the bridge. And he confesses that he has been plagued by nightmares about Edda and Avir. And they tell him in his dreams, we wish to return home. And he fears if he can't figure out a way to do that for them, they will haunt him for the rest of his life. And that's probably true. Whether it is that they're actually haunting him or he's just like, it's psychosomatic and it's an anxiety and a regret and what, like, either way, he's got to cleanse it. So his idea was to hold a memorial service to honor them, but you can't really do that unless you have like a token from them both, because we don't have bodies. We need something of them. So now we've got one half of this situation. We have her ring. So
the ring we found after defeating her, after slaying her, is her engagement ring.
So we just need to find Avir's or something of Avir's. And that's why we're at the bridge. So Avir's ring is somewhere in this stretch of creek. Because the day before they set off on that fateful adventure where everybody died and got pissed off at one another, he and Avir were out here stumbling drunk, roughhousing shenanigans, whatever. And Avir fell into the river, lost his gauntlets, and with his gauntlets, his ring. They tried looking for it, no luck. And he's like, they've got to be here somewhere. So,
Right, so they gave up back in the day. They could not find...
Because they're drunk, it's 4 a.m., whatever.
Yeah. But now, though, we get to work looking for them in this day and age.
And there
in the
they
present.
are. Yeah. They're downstream. Stuck by a rock. Luckily.
We find a pair of rusty gauntlets and a dull ring.
Ta-da! Now that we have both of these things, Payo's idea is to... And I keep switching between Payo and Payo. Like, if I'm saying Payo Reo, it's Payo Reo. If I'm saying Payo, it's Payo. Whatever. Deal with it. So Payo's idea is to bring the rings together in a place meaningful to the couple. And he decides on Limsa, Summerford, to be precise. It's where they all met and where Etta and Avir's love blossomed. So he finds a cliff with a gorgeous view of Limsa Lominsa in the distance and the sea beyond. And I did this, I just randomly was doing this at sunset. Highly recommend doing it at this time of day.
It was nighttime for me.
It means a little different, a little less.
I was actually annoyed. I was like, this is like the worst time to be doing this, but also I gotta keep on trucking. So I can't wait for a whole like in-game 8 hours. Like I can, but I didn't want to.
I recommend it.
Fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so that I just lucked out, and that was kind of perfect because then you've got like the the lens flare and shit that's going on, and it's just really beautiful. So
it's like the people who had issues in Endwalker going to one of the starting zones and like it being absolutely fucking pouring out when they first get there. A lot of people, at least I saw in RFC, for instance, complained about how when they first got there, it was absolutely pouring and like windy and like they couldn't see shit.
Monsoon season, man.
When it should ideally be like this sunny, welcoming.
Oh, that's why that triggered you. Okay. Anyway, yes. I mean, sometimes that happens.
I know.
I feel like I've gotten lucky on some of these things where I thought that maybe the weather and the time of day, because sometimes you'll do like a quest or you'll get a cutscene where the time of day is not a choice. Like they're doing this at a time of day that is like the Arcanist. That little thing, it happens like it doesn't matter what time of day you start it, it will be nighttime when you do it, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that was really lovely and it felt nice. So we're there on the cliff. It's sunset. And he places the rings on the ground and we both kneel and pray over them for a bit that they may find peace. And afterward, he feels a great weight lift from his shoulders. So he kind of reflects a bit, their adventuring band lacked unity, and that's how they failed. And he pledges to spend his time from then on helping other would-be adventurers from a similar fate. And he bows and takes his leave. We turn to leave ourselves, and a disembodied voice somewhere echoes behind us, "Thank you." And then we turn and smile at whoever that was. And that was really lovely. Like, that was like, oh, so settling. As opposed to unsettling. It was very settling.
Your coyness is amusing, Jen. Who could this be? Who could be thanking us in this scenario?
No, we know. But we just, we kind of turn and smile at the general area and,
So now we return to Palace and we keep on delving. We're here to figure out who's at the very heart of this mystery. So we're back. Floor 51. The palace interior is now another flavor of dungeon. This is a cold-toned interior comprised of large cut stone blocks. We do get some elevation changes now, which is cool. There are some room transitions where you go up or down stone steps, and there's a lower room with some shallow standing water, which is a cool set piece.
Yeah, the environments are always like really neat. They get a little repetitive, but each new segment of floors is a new aesthetic, and then the music changes constantly too, which is really fun.
Music is the best part of this. It's
it really sets the tone.
So many fun tracks that they play here.
Yeah. Some really beautiful ones too. It's just it's like all over the place, but it's great.
Yep. The enemies here are void scent and pots, the big floating stone constructs that look like giant faces.
This is the first time I've seen these.
Incorrect.
I don't know, man. I can't remember every goddamn mob from this game.
Every goddamn fucking pot.
You like remember the sentient pots? I'm like, I
pots.
bet they exist, but I don't remember them. I'm sorry.
Stop smoking so much pot, Jen.
My God.
That was pretty good. It was a good burn.
Low hanging fruit, man. Talking about
low
pots.
Button fruit.
How about some pot?
Yeah.
Anywho, any road.
The boss of this floor set is the Black Rider, who is an armored guy on a black horse.
Yeah.
This is one of the bosses where you gotta get the mechanic. If so, real easy. Otherwise, you're gonna die. The harder version that we'll see next time will especially punish you if you do not understand the main mechanic. I recall that you got by this guy.
Very likely.
Very definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of bosses here, it will drop ground puddles. Generally try and bait them towards the edge of the arena, not towards the center. It'll make your life easier if you don't have them blocking out the center. The one mechanic that matters, though, is that the boss will mark one player with a undodgeable line AoE that will always follow that player. Everyone else clear out, just don't be there. The marked player, though, they need to look around because there will be on the edge of the arena, there'll be little wispy lights now. Each one of these little wisps will explode into a big circle AoE. You need to find the place where there is a gap between two of them, a big gap, and you need to plant yourself between that gap. Because when the mechanic resolves, the Black Rider will charge the target of the line AoE, knocking them all the way back to the wall. If you plant yourself between those two balls where it's safe, you get knocked back to safety, you're fine. If you do not, you'll get knocked back into one of the balls, it'll explode on you, you die.
You die.
That's the mechanic. Do that, you're fine.
Yeah. Neat. I don't think I got that.
We now start getting our prelude cutscenes to the floor 100 boss. Just like on the first 50 floors, it will drip feed you little bits of this guy. You see like his feet. You see his robe.
Yeah.
Once again, we'll talk about his whole deal here.
He says some stuff, but his lair, wherever it is just like a big fat graveyard. Just tombstones and torches and iron fencing.
It's a big cave with this kind of orange fog all over the place. There are stalactites of orange corrupted crystals hanging down from the ceiling. There are tombstones too, yes.
So many tombstones.
So we are now being fed bits about our end boss here, Nibeth, the eternal life-seeking necromancer turned lich from Tactics Ogre. He is a floating, cloaked apparition with a sallow, decaying face. He opens up by musing to himself about his pursuit of eternal life. Not just reanimation, but life itself. This quest is as difficult in this world as it was in his last. Crossover. We never get any explanation whatsoever for this guy's inter-game world travel. He's just here now. There is some musing at the very end of this quest line that his fervent drive to achieve his goal propels him onward, even beyond death. But it's all very vague and speculative.
Yep.
But anyways, though, after being slain in his world, he has reappeared here to continue his quest. He goes on to say that he investigated the traitor's spurn, but that only resulted in undead aberrations. The traitor's spurn, as a reminder, is the zombifying bioweapon used to wipe out Sildee.
Yep.
He goes on. The magics of Gridania, presumably conjuration, were equally ineffective as they can only intervene at the brink of death. However, Nibeth does like the ether of our world, building blocks of life. And in her, he found a fantastic specimen. But she turned out to be a failure. He was sure that her force of will would have been enough to set him towards his goal.
Nope.
But no.
Yep.
We fucked it up.
We talked sense.
talk sense with her weapons.
It was more like, well, this goes back to encountering her in Deepcroft. Like, stop with this madness. This is really unhealthy. You need to move on. You need to let go. All of these things, planting the seed that made it really difficult for Nybeth to take control of her completely.
Yes. Back there, yes. There and before in our interactions, we did plant the seed in her for sure. But at this point, we don't do any talking to. We just gave her a stabbing to.
No, she was beyond reaching at this point. Yep. But yeah, the shit that we did back then, when she was able to comprehend or hear it, then yes, that stuck.
So we press on to floor 61. Same dungeon biome, but this is all dinosaurs. Oops, all dinosaurs. It's kind of fun.
Huh. Why don't I remember dinosaur floor? I remember dinosaurs. I just don't remember being like, oh, wow, that's all this is.
Yeah, you got the Wyvras, you got T-Rexes, you got Pterodons. Dinos everywhere.
Huh, cool.
They're all very easy, though. This is the point where the game is so fucking easy. Like, what's the point? No enemies here do anything besides maybe some telegraphed AoEs and
you're just
auto attacks.
Running around killing dudes, thinking nothing of it.
The boss on this set is Yaquera, a big sea serpent. This fight is all about the tank. When Yaquera drops a persistent puddle of water on the ground, you've got to pull them out of it. While within the puddle, they will gain a haste buff. You've got to move their targeting circle all the way out of that puddle. Then, Yaquera will hit random players with heavy and target one with a circle AoE. The heavy debuff makes dodging the circle very difficult. You either need to have it assumed off you or hit sprint to dodge the circle, otherwise you'll get got because you cannot walk out with heavy on you. Fortunately though, this debuff has diminishing returns. Next time this mechanic repeats, the heavy lasts for less time and then even less the third time and so on. So after the first is pretty easy. The first one, though, you'll need to either get cured or need to sprint to evade the circle AoE on you. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's it. Don't let Yaquera get wet and dodge the shit.
Easy.
We're on now to floor 71. We're now in the animal floor. We got big animals, Sasquatches, birds, big critters.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, it's very easy. And we fight through all of them to Gudana, a behemoth.
I was like, is this going to be like the normal behemoth fight? Kind of,
yes.
Yeah.
He's got the moves. He's got Charybdis, which is that persistent ground tornado effect that pulses outward. So it endangers more than it appears because it will pulse like a wind AoE around it. Mm-hmm. So avoid the tornadoes in general. Otherwise, though, a big thing to watch for is an attack called Trounce. Gudana will occasionally go to one end of the arena and will drop a big fat cone AoE on a player. You want to follow the boss to the place they're going to because you want to be at the narrow end of the cone. If you are in the middle of the arena or further away, you're unlikely to be able to dodge this cone in time and you will get got by the Trounce attack.
Yeah.
So if you see them moving, follow to the edge. Don't be in the middle.
Yeah.
Besides that, there is, of course, Meteor, like Behemoth 2. In this version, it will hit you for most of your health bar. So this is kind of like a soft enrage. Around 18% health, Behemoth starts casting Meteor. Either you got to burn him down, or you need to be prepared to heal because it will knock out most of your health, and they will spam that nonstop once you get to the Meteor window. One strat can be to save your limit break for this point, and as soon as you cross that 18% threshold, pop that LB, just to burn the boss down before they can spam Meteor too much.
I think we killed him before he was able to get one off.
We did, yes, but he'll be back again on floor 180 and with much more health.
Cool.
Yeah. So we succeed, though, and we press on to floor 81. We're now in the final aesthetic for the non-challenge floors. This is the dungeon now opens up into like a very kind of large, high-ceilinged structure with an ominous orange fog hanging in the air, and there are numerous bits of exposed earth poking through the floor, cave-ins on the walls, and so on. And there's bits of what looks like some sort of torn-up iron fence that jut out from these earthen piles. Also tombstones.
Yeah, we're getting close now.
Yep, we are. In this set, there are lots of bug enemies, worms, flies, bigger flies, and there are also bombs. The latter are the most dangerous enemy type here. Like bombs do, they will explode, but these guys don't do like that dodgeable ground marker. They will destroy a big area around them if they explode. So bombs are a high priority enemy.
Yeah.
Kill them. Otherwise, P easy.
Yeah.
And we reach the penultimate boss, the Godmother.
God.
This is a big fat cross between a bomb and the stave-puffed marshmallow guy.
Oh, right. This person. Yeah.
Yeah, a floating, glowing bomb person. This fight requires some coordination. It's probably the toughest fight in here, if not Behemoth. So there are two big mechanics in this fight, and both of them revolve around adds. One is when a, quote, gray bomb spawns, which is actually orange, but it's called a gray. I don't know. Anyway, an orange bomb ad will spawn. You need to kill this bomb ASAP before it explodes. Standard stuff. Kill the ad, no big deal. The other one is trickier. A blue bomb will spawn in, and at the same time, the boss will start casting a mega raid wide. Every time you hit the blue bomb, it will get pushed a short distance away from you. You need to push the blue bomb onto the boss before it explodes. If the blue bomb explodes on the boss, it'll interrupt the cast. Otherwise, the boss's cast will go off and it will do most of your health in one big fat hit. So the blue bomb requires a lot of coordination. You should nominate one person only, preferably a ranged or magic DPS, to be in charge of the blue bomb. Nobody else touches it. If you fight over pushing it around, it's going to get pushed off to the acid of nowhere and it's going to go off in the corner and you will not interrupt the boss. You've got to have one person in charge of moving the bomb around. Also, any AoE attacks will knock the blue bomb around too. So any classes that have like inherent AoEs, Summoner, should knock it off during this mechanic so they don't hit the bomb accidentally and knock it away from the boss.
Yep.
But if you do that, you're good to go. The only other wrinkle is that during these mechanics, there'll be a sea of non-targetable mini-bombs appearing across the arena. These will explode into high damage AoEs, just dodge them. Easy by itself, more difficult while doing the other mechanics at the same time.
Yeah. Fun.
So we defeat the Godmother, and we move on now to the final set of floors. We've now reached the undead set. There are undead enemies and void sent here, and the final couple floors have only undead on them. This is important because you can use the Pomander of Resolution to do high damage to these enemies. That's the Angel transformation. All undead are very vulnerable to its effect. There are no especially dangerous mechanics here, but the patrolling enemies who dual wield coffins will do a ton of damage when they whack on you.
Oh, yeah.
That will add up quite a bit.
Yeah.
No special mechanics, just a fuck ton of damage. There are also dragons that can target you with circle AoEs even when they're not in combat. So if you see a dragon, it might start dropping shit on you while it's not engaged, so just be mindful of the dragons. Otherwise, not too bad. We fight our way through and reach the final boss at last, Nybeth Abdulord. He floats in the air waiting for us.
He's mad?
He mad.
Yeah. His name is Nybeth Abdulord.
Yes, Jen.
Sweet name. Necromancer and arbiter of life and death, so he says. He believes his is a noble art. And, blah, blah, blah. We fight him. And then he's got more to say as he dies. Yeah.
Nice ceremony, Jen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll fill in the we fight him bit.
This fight is a hella reference to Tactics Ogre. He even casts using the Dark Triforce triangle pattern that dark magic spells use in Tactics Ogre. Like the purple Triforce thing on the ground when he casts spells. That's the animation from Tactics Ogre.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, obviously, he's got his reanimating undead, which, again, that is his thing. He summons and he reanimates undead indefinitely, which is what he does here. So what you got to do in this fight is manage his summons. It's all about the ads. There is an easy way to do it and a hard way to do it. We did it the hard way.
It started to get pretty hairy.
Yes.
They just kept coming and coming and coming and coming.
The reason being is that I forgot to save a palmetto of resolution for this fight, Jen, because I had forgotten about this mechanic.
Oops.
So, oops indeed.
No, that's exactly what it was for. Yeah, because you get a pile of these guys, and you cannot AoE them down fast enough.
So what happens here is that Nybeth will summon in pairs during the fight some real big ripped-ass zombies. They go down real fast, no problem. However, their bodies stay on the floor. He will keep in summoning new ads, and he'll reanimate the old ads, so you get a pile and pile and pile as the fight goes on of like 10 plus ads that will keep getting up again to fight you.
Yeah, it's Fibonacci zombies.
Yes, this becomes very, very difficult later on. Jen and I scraped through barely with our pretty shitty ether pool at the time, but we did it. Good job, Jen.
Yeah.
It was very close.
Yeah.
The easy mode, though, if you plan ahead, is to use that Palmander of Resolution. This does high damage to Nybeth and to the zombies, but also when you use Resolution on a zombie, it will destroy the zombie's corpse. It cannot be reanimated. So if you just have one person in your party on Resolution duty, they can blast Nybeth with the Angel's AoE attack. Destroy the corpses, keeping the ads under control. It's real easy at that point.
Totally.
That's that. We defeat Nybeth, and as he's dissipating into ether, he gives us a final woe is me speech.
Yeah.
All I wanted was eternal life. Isn't that what everyone wants? Nobody understands what a good guy I am.
Yeah, like, why don't you all want what I want? I don't understand you people.
He acts like he's doing some sort of noble,
Yes,
benevolent cause.
Absolutely.
He's a piece of shit. He killed his whole family.
Yeah, he wants to, pluck people back from beyond the veil so that nobody ever dies ever. Of course, he's doing this because, somebody he loved a lot died and he's trying to get her back.
That's what we hear here, Jen. But in his actual story, he kills those he loves in pursuit of his goal. He is not about any lost love for him. It is now about the goal and the goal itself. It has become his all-consuming cause, I'd say, for its own justification because it's his task he set before him. And he, literally destroys his whole family in pursuit of it.
Well, yeah, if he's that convinced that he has this power, then he's like, there's no, I got nothing to lose. I kill you in pursuit of this, but then I'll just, bring you back. That's fine. Nothing, it's like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
No harm, no foul. We defeat him, though, and after the fight we leave and see that one more blue quest has appeared in Quarry Mill.
With the Dark Sorcerer dispelled from the ruins, we resurface to share our adventure with the Wood Whalers at Quarry Mill. We are beckoned by one such whaler with developments from the palace. They've discovered a trove of writings written by Abdelord, and they would like our assistance with deciphering them. And an expeditionary awaits us at Issamhar.
So at this point, Jen, I'm not sure what you expect me to do to decipher these documents. I'll show up, sure, because I'm a yes man, but I can't.
Their reasoning is well, you were there, so maybe you got something.
Yes.
We have literally nowhere else to go with this. So.
Right. This gets clarified as to what they're actually looking for in a moment, but this pitch is very funny because we're not there to decipher anything.
Yeah.
So we pop on over to the Gelmoran ruins again, and we're to meet up with the Pajal who's on palace duty, Una Kator. Once we arrive, another whaler informs us that the documents are written in a script entirely unfamiliar to our eyes. But Una now shows up to explain why we're here. He says that judging from the etheric signature, these documents and the writer hail from a world not our own. But maybe with the power of the echo, we can gain insight into the documents.
And he's right. God damn it.
Yep.
We just kind of put our hand out to get the vibe, and boom, flashback. We see Nybeth addressing himself in his lair, while Edda's lifeless body floats before him. So this is the space that was his arena, essentially. So Edda is just hanging there in space. It's just her body. I think there's a consciousness in there somewhat, but he's like upset because he can't keep her soul tied to her body.
Notably, this platform is covered full of bodies right now in this flashback.
Just dozens and dozens and dozens. Which is why everybody's like, we gotta go down in there and stop this guy because he keeps killing people.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, he doesn't understand. You know, it's like her spirit is rejecting her corporeal form, but this shouldn't be because her spirit is so strong. It should be able to remain tethered to this realm in perpetuity. Yet her body remains lifeless. Is it possible, he wonders, that her spirit chose to return to the ethereal sea of its own accord? No. Who would choose that if given the option? No. So he addresses someone else now. Someone from his memories.
Yes. He says, what would you say, old friend? Would you blather on about the virtue of accepting death? And now the scene changes to a flashback within a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a still scene of Nybeth from behind, beholding a figure in shadows on a stone stairway.
Mm-hmm.
This is Denim, the protagonist of Tactics Ogre.
Oh.
They were not friends. This is a misconstruement. This is said in quotes, old friend.
Sure, yeah.
This is someone who got in Nybeth's way repeatedly and eventually killed him. There's no love lost.
Wow. Brutal.
I think it's just like doing a quote for the fan.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, so, would he extol her pure-hearted wish to rest beside her lost love? Like, yeah, probably, because that's correct. Again, to Nybeth, this is nonsense. Edda's spirit is too strong to meekly succumb to eternal sleep. There must be something else, someone else, clouding her judgment. Probably that interloper, us, who tried convincing her to let go. So the logical next step is to send her after us to kill us, and finally maybe severing our influence upon her soul. Then he will finally know the secret to immortality, and he will pluck her soul, somebody else.
This is really confusing. This is not well transitioned.
Yeah, so he will pluck her soul, and this is a different her to him.
Yes.
Probably the reason why he's doing all of this.
Check your pronouns, yo.
Yeah, pluck her soul from beyond the veil, and they will be inseparable for the rest of time. Ask her if that's what she wants, bro, but whatever, he's so far gone.
Yeah, so now he's talking about his absent wife, who he wants to get back. I got really confused at first. This gets clarified after we finish the Echo scene, that he's talking about his old lover.
Yeah.
But I thought during the scene he was talking to Edda. He's like, then my love, I shall pull back the veil. And like, whoa, you escalated quickly.
Yeah.
But no, he's talking to his OG
The
love.
reason for him doing what he's fucking doing. Alchemist
Supposedly.
style. Yeah.
Anyway, so the flashback ends now. And E. Una Couture suggests that he's trying to restore his own beloved. Thank you for contextualizing, E. Una.
Mm-hmm.
I was confused. But E. Una is shocked that such an innocent desire could give birth to such blasphemous deeds.
We've seen some shit, bro, so I understand why you would think that that's so out of bounds.
He asks us now what we thought of Nybeth.
Yeah, we get a little pop-up. We got options.
I answered that he was a twisted, pitiful creature that was driven by false ideals.
That's what I picked, too.
Fine. Boring.
The first one was boring.
You were.
It was like, he's a piece of shit. Or something. And we're like, no, he's just...
He was a pitiful piece of shit.
He's confused, and his motivations are so muddied and, depraved at this point, really. I mean, there was some good in him. It's like, there's a lot of gray area in the response that I picked, as opposed to just like, he's a bad guy.
Sure. But E. Una says... Good thing we killed him, but the palace is still full of evil. Once we fully cleanse it, he will invoke the power of the elementals to seal it off forever. But good thing for us players that we got plenty more enemies to kill before that happens, so we can enjoy our fun times in palace to this very day. The end.
The end.
So, Jen, what do you think of the palace story?
I think it makes sense.
Jen's review. It makes sense.
It makes sense. So...
I don't disagree. It does make sense, in my opinion, too. But that's a low bar to clear also, I think.
Yeah, so we'll start there. I like the wrap-up with Edda's story.
You mean that separate side quest?
Well, yeah, I like that they carried Edda as a character into this to, like, bridge the gap.
I like that, too. That's, I think, the best piece of writing in this entire series, like the Palace story series, that funeral kind of wrap-up quest.
Totally, yeah. That felt good, because we met these people as new adventurers ourselves, so it's from Sastasha to now, so it feels like a really long time.
It has been.
So that's great. And also the fact that she is wrapped up in the fate of some other entity that we don't know. And now we're uncovering the mystery of this whole thing. And it being a lich just sucking up adventurers and killing them in an attempt to find the key to immortality. And then we're encountering all of his failed experiments in, whatever the fuck else in this place. Kind of like Labyrinth of the Ancients and stuff like that, where it's full of stuff, and it's just like, oh, these are experiments. Don't worry about it. Just like, where did all this stuff come from? It's just experiments.
Dinosaurs. Experiments.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't think about it. Some of them were obviously like thematic. Others, it's just here's some shit to fight.
Here's some fun. So I maintain here that the palace story didn't need to be present, really. I do like the conclusion to Edda. I think that's good, to have her finally put to rest here. It feels like the end of a long saga, like you said. I'm happy with that. I think that all the Nybeth stuff is subtractive from the overall experience. I don't think that dropping some crossover character out of nowhere and just like having him talk to himself about his own story, like nothing happens with him. He doesn't change at all. He just like...
Yeah, it bothers me that we get that little flashback and a flashback. And again, this is only for the people who've played this other game.
Yes.
And if you didn't, you are just shit out of luck. And I don't like that. Because I don't ever get to have that inside joke. I don't ever get to like feel like, oh my god, it's denim.
I don't feel anything myself, Jen, for having seen that. I'm not like, oh yeah, there you are. I'm like, why are you doing this game? Why even bother at this point?
Even then, it just feels like a weird like module kind of shoehorned in. That he should have just been his own fucking thing. Some other justification for why this whole thing exists.
So, Jen, that's interesting because at the start of our talk today, you were saying that you liked Nybeth being here, but now you're saying that it shouldn't be here.
Well, because he's so wrapped up in Tactics Ogre. It's like it's like the worst of both worlds. Like, I can't appreciate him as just like a lich that exists in an impossibly deep
dungeon,
I guess. Or I was looking for a what's
labyrinth.
It's not even a labyrinth. It's like it's a mausoleum. It's a crypt.
Sure.
I'll call it a crypt. I don't know. Whatever it is. Like that could have just been its own thing. He just could have been a sorcerer living down there doing weird shit, and all of us up at the surface were like, something weird is happening down there.
Yeah.
And like we don't know what's happening. It seems kind of dangerous, but also there's good stuff. So like we're encouraging adventurers to go down there. So we do, but then we uncover this deeper issue, which is great. But like I said, people who are wrapped up in Tactics Ogre are like, oh, this is just like copy pasted over here as they do.
Well, Jen, what's interesting is that necromancers don't really exist in our world. The closest thing is people who summon Void Scent. Every time there's spooky shit going on, it's Void Scent. It's not necromancy.
Right.
So it's kind of odd that
Well, he wasn't really a necromancer either because he could not bring anybody back from the dead. He couldn't control shit.
Necromancers... What?
What is a necromancer?
Necromancers reanimate the dead.
You're just like a puppeteer.
That is literally what he's been doing like the entire boss fight.
Okay.
Is necromancer.
Yeah, sorry. I was like...
He's not a restorer of
life.
Actual life, a resurrector, like a miracle worker, in a sense, is what that would be.
Yeah, we have that. He's essentially like a siren, because we've encountered that before in the game.
Nybeth, essentially a siren.
In Pharaoh Sirius, we're dealing with we have things that are adjacent to necromancy, I suppose. We
do. I mean, there are skeletons in the game too. It's not like there's no necromancy period. We have like animated skeletons that are just like skeletons that fight you. There are some in Labyrinth of the Ancients even. That's not the question. What I'm saying though is that we don't have capital N necromancers in our world that get highlighted like this. It's people who summon Void Sent. Maybe necromancy happens as like a tool they use, because obviously the skeletons got walking somehow, the zombies came back to life somehow, but it's not like, time to go fight the big necromancer. That's not a thing that we do in our game world.
Mm-hmm.
But Nybeth though is a real necromancer. So it's kind of odd. Because I was wondering, like, what's the best way to have the same experience but not have this be some sort of crossover, and it'd be some sort of probably like Gilmoran Ancient. We don't know anything about Gilmora still, honestly, in this day and age.
Yeah.
But
could have been another weird cult.
Another weird cult. It could have been like a powerful Void Sent down there that like got trapped way down below. It could have been a Gilmoran Lich, if that such a thing exists. Fuck if I know if it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, I would love something down there that is from our universe that makes sense to be down there versus this crossover guy.
Yeah.
I think that the story post 50 is very weak. I think that the weird teasers about here's some feet, here's some legs, those are very weird too. It's like, just fucking show her. No. You gotta,
create a mystery. You gotta create a reason to like progress. Like, what's this? Who's this? What's going on?
I'm agree.
Fine with that.
You want that, but I don't think that showing more and more parts of a body is the best way to do that. I think that could be achieved more through dialogue and oblique references to some greater plot. I'm not like, ooh, check out them shoes. I want to get a piece of those. Who's wearing them things?
I mean, it's 6 1, half a dozen the other, No, it was already that, but we just got, these little snapshots of this mystery person.
Okay, well, I'm happy to let you have your opinion, Jen. I don't need to.
Thanks.
To take that down. Our differences will stand.
That's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Any other comments on Palace, Jen?
Nay.
Too bad, because we got a lot more pals to go, Jen.
This is true.
Next time, we'll be doing our floor 200 run. So we'll be talking strats first off to do the challenge floors, and then we'll be talking about our actual run to floor 200. So we will see you then.
And that will do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening and existing and being awesome. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com, or check the show notes for our Discord and join up and join us for group runs. Post your glams, post your pets, talk about like whatever. It's a really awesome group of people, so check it out. And we also have our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. And for $1 a month, you get access to some bonus content that we produce for the seasonal events in Final Fantasy XIV. We also have our Final Fantasy XI series, Vanadil Van Spleener, that gets posted there. Give that a listen. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.